The Rams have made one of the best signings on the defensive side of the football early on in free agency, an absolute game changer. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor. Join the party, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Also, drop your comments down below. What is your reaction to the Rams' latest signing? My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleacher Report, Dodgers Nation. Also, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers, of course. People's Champ, the Rams pre-half and post-game show host for your Los Angeles Rams. Going to be his 10th season coming up shortly. But we got a jam-packed show. We got more signings, more Cooper Kupp talk, and then we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about the possibility of the Rams drafting a quarterback if this quarterback falls to them in the first round. But Travis, we got to start with the Rams' latest big addition, and that is Poona Ford. So Puna Ford is big, literally, I mean, over 300 pounds, 5'11", and he agrees to a 3-year deal with the Rams worth $29.6 million with $17 million guaranteed. And this, to me, is an absolute A signing for the Rams. Once again, 80.3 run defense grade in 2024, 15 run stops, missed just 3 tackles. This Rams defense was 29th in the NFL. And with rushing yards per game allowed and yards per rush. I mean, this is a dude that just plugs up the middle. Just, you could put him in 2 gaps. And this is just a run stuffer that I think is going to take this Rams defense to the next level.
Yeah, I think that one of those numbers that you put in there, Doug, is exactly the reason that he's here. They were 29th in the league against the run, and they need to get better than that. Look at who just won the Super Bowl. Look at who absolutely murdered them on a Monday night. Look at the guy that, took another huge chunk out of their you-know-what in the NFC divisional round playoff game, Saquon Barkley. Now, you're not going to stop Saquon Barkley by acquiring one good player like Poona Ford, but you certainly can slow him down with a player like that. You can certainly start to build your defense to prevent a player like that from having days like he did against your team. And, you go back, and I know that this has been talked about ad nauseum, that the Rams were the one team that gave not Saquon Barkley, but gave the Philadelphia Eagles a run for their money. Yeah, they did, but they still lost, and they lost in good part because Saquon Barkley had a couple of enormous plays that they weren't able to stop. The Rams have never really emphasized the linebacker position all that much. So if they're going to continue to do that moving forward, you need to be a little bit better up front against the run. And this player allows you to do that. I agree with you. I really like this. This was the area of a defense that I think, quite frankly, is going to be maybe not the tip of the spear for this team, but at least an equal partner in the success of this team moving forward. We saw it last year that the defense was kind of what they were hanging their hats on for large periods of time. And this certainly makes the defense a lot better. I like the signing a lot.
Yeah, and when you sign a player and you're a fan of that team, it's like, who the heck is this guy? I mean, do I know him? Maybe. Do some casual fans maybe know him? Yeah, but it's like when you sign a guy, it's like, what are you getting? What are you getting from this player? And I think the simplest way to describe what you're getting with Puna is someone that is a top 5 defensive tackle at his position based on last year's production. 85.3 overall grade. That was 5th best at his position in the sport. So you include him in the conversation with guys like Chris Jones, Cameron Hayward, Dexter Lawrence, and Leonard Williams. Those are the 4 guys above him. So he was the 5th best at his position. So that is very impressive. And then, too, you add the fact that he's going to be added to a group that includes Braden Fisk and Kobe Turner and guys like that. So I expect him to get more one-on-one opportunities, have more opportunities to get to the quarterback. He's not that's not been his specialty, but I think that he'll have more production in that department just because of the talent that is on this Rams team.
Yeah, and I think that there's an important part of this. If you kind of pull back a little bit and look a little more macro in this, is that the Rams realize they're in another window opportunity here. You know, when you saw the Davante Adams signing, they aggressively re-signed Matthew Stafford, that they're going for it again. This is not a play necessarily that is a, hey, let's wait, let's see what happens, let's get a little bit better. We're still a year or two away from really making a run at this. This is the sort of move, and this is the sort of money you spend when you think you've got a shot. And when the Rams think they've had a shot, more often than not, they've been right. You know, when they see that window open and they go for it, they've hit it. You know, there's no guarantees, but I think that the signing, not only do I like the player a lot and the filling of the need that the Rams clearly had and trying to stem the run a little bit like that, but I like what it indicates as well, where, you know, Davante Adams, Matthew Stafford, Poona Ford, like these are real guys that they went out and got. And that's not something that you do so you're good in 2027. That's something that you do so you're good in 2025. That's exciting.
Exactly. And you also add the fact that Bobby Brown, it was great to see his career develop. I mean, every little step he took with Bobby Brown, it was nice to see that development. But the truth of the matter is he's an upgrade to Bobby Brown. Last year, Bobby Brown with the Rams, he had 3 pressures, didn't get to the quarterback once in 230 pass rush snaps, while Poona Ford had 25 pressures, 3 sacks on 384 pass rush opportunities. So even though that's not his specialty, he did get to the quarterback better than Bobby Brown last year.
Yeah, you know, Brown, I want to say signed with Carolina yesterday. I could be wrong. I could be misremembering that. Yeah, but you know, I'm with you. This is a better player than the one that they had. This is a guy that does that better than the one that they had. This is somebody that I think understands their role maybe a little bit better than the one that they had. Look, they've got guys that are going to get to the quarterback, right? They've got guys like Jared Verse that are going to get to the quarterback. Byron Young is going to get to the quarterback. You know, they're going to have to replace a little production and play guys like Michael Hoyt and whatnot, but I think they're going to do that. This is not a team that is lacking in guys that can sack the quarterback. They've got that. They've got that personnel already. So having another guy that wanted to go sack the quarterback necessarily wasn't what they needed. If they get a guy that can stop the run and, rush the quarterback, great. And I think that's what they did. And they upgraded Ford from Bobby Brown. And I don't think there's anybody that would say that they didn't get better at that spot.
Yeah, and Bobby Brown signed with the Panthers. And look, you knew it was just not going to be something tenable with him. I mean, he wrote that post saying that he was more than just a run defender and that he needed more opportunity. So it was clearly not the fit. I think, too, even if he hadn't said that, the Rams were looking to upgrade at that position. And, yeah, I mean, now it's really just kind of about the cornerback spot. It's kind of looking at the linebacker spot. But this was just a major, major addition. And he gets to stay in Los Angeles, which has got to be fun, right? He's probably living at the same place. So, yeah, I mean, just a great move. And then, speaking of moves that Rams fans are going to like but are necessary, we got some more clarity on Cooper Kupp, and also Demarcus Robinson is with a division rival now. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
Locked On Rams is sponsored by BetterHelp. Taking care of your mental health can feel like a big investment, but it's just as important as taking care of your body. Traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session, but with BetterHelp, you can save up to 50% per session. BetterHelp offers a flat fee for weekly online therapy sessions, making professional support more accessible and affordable. With over 30,000 therapists and over 5 million people helped, it's the world's largest, online therapy platform, right? So think about it. You spend a lot of money on things like going to the gym and eating right and all of these other things that we spend to make sure that we feel great. Why not invest in your mental health the same way and doing that just like you do everything else? Your well-being is absolutely worth it. So visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available on YouTube, so subscribe over there. And a major shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Could not thank you guys enough. And now is the time. Join the Every Listeners Club. Watch every single episode. Listen to every Monday through Friday, and then you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. All right, Travis, so we've talked a lot about Cooper Kupp, and it's pretty much been the same story all off season, but there has been some more reports that have made it very official that what the Rams are intending to do with Cooper Kupp, and that is if they can't find a trade partner, that they are going to release him. And we know that they just agreed to a new deal with Davante Adams, and with Cooper Kupp, I mean, he just finished really his first season on that new contract when you look at the extension, and it was going to count for $29.8 million against the cap and $27.3 million in 2026. He's guaranteed just $5 million next season. He has no guarantee money in the final year of his contract in 2026. So if the Rams do trade Kupp in a deal, they designated post June 1, they would save $20 million. That'd be great. It's unlikely that it's going to happen, that you're going to be in a position where you're going to have to cut a guy who really is an iconic, legendary player for our organization.
Yeah, it's a drag. You know, it's the ugly side of the thing that we all love to watch. We love the games, we love our teams, we like the players that help our teams win, and certainly Cooper Kupp is on that list. You know, Cooper Kupp had one of the great seasons in Rams history. He wins the Triple Crown. The Rams go to the postseason. They win the Super Bowl. He's the Super Bowl MVP. You really can't ask for more than that. He's been a solid citizen. He's been a great teammate. He's been, incredibly durable and tough and all of these things. And it really stinks to have to say, thanks for the memories, but we got to move on without you. But here's the rub. This is what good teams do. This is what good teams do. They make hard decisions that maybe are unpopular emotionally, but they make a whole bunch of sense strategically. Cooper Kupp, unfortunately, is not worth the money that he is due. It would be a bad football decision, a bad business decision to move forward with him at that rate. And they're not going to do it. And it doesn't seem like there's anybody out there that wants to pick up that money because of the production and the cost. They just don't line up anymore. So you got to move on from it. It stinks. I've not met a single Rams fan in the nearly 10 years that I've been doing this that isn't a Cooper Kupp fan. There's a lot of guys that people, sometimes it's like, he's really not. Nothing like that with Cooper Kupp. Nothing. Everybody is a huge fan of his. But I think even the most diehard Kupp fans look at this right now and go, yeah, that's just not going to work. And especially, look, are the Rams a better football team with Davante Adams? Yeah, they are. Are they a better football team with Adams and Nacua and whoever else they want to put in there, whether it's, Whittington or Atwell or one of those things, and what those guys cost relative to what Kupp costs? Yeah, they are. It's just the ugly side of this business. He will be missed, whether there's a ring of honor or a statue or a number retirement or all of the above. I think it's coming at some point, but this is the ugly side of the NFL. It's a tough business.
Yeah, and it's kind of the price of having an aggressive organization that wants to compete for Super Bowl titles, right? I mean, I'd rather live through the pain of cutting a player that you loved, but have an aggressive organization that's pedal to the metal, trying to take advantage of Stafford than the former. It's just kind of an ugly part of the business, like you said. Question though is, like, if you were a team out there, would you be crazy enough to trade for Cooper Kupp? I mean, the money is the money. Right after it was first revealed that they're going to move on and they were going to try to trade him, I did a little thing with Ross Jackson, the greatest channel manager in podcast history, no doubt about it. First ballot Hall of Famer, gold jacket, give to Canton. And he asked me, what's a team that you would trade him to? And just the first team that popped into my mind for some reason was the New England Patriots. And I don't know, the reason for that was you got Drake May, first year as a starter. You have the most cap space in the league. I mean, you're probably going to use that pick. People say it could go to Travis Hunter and someone like that. And if you're Cooper Kupp, you would much rather be with a organization that's more win now. But I mean, there's teams out there that I think could benefit from a Cooper Kupp. Like, the Seahawks lose DK Metcalf. The Lions. I mean, what if the Lions that it would be tricky to get that contract situation. But I mean, there's teams that have talked themselves into worse players than Cooper Kupp.
Oh, yeah. Look, he's going to play, and I expect that he will play well. And here, you ready for a nightmare scenario? Look, great news for Cooper Kupp, bad news for Rams fans. So it'll be like, wait, what? He's doing who? Where? What if he lands in Kansas City with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes? Right? Because nobody's going to pay him what he's making now. So he's going to get to go where he wants to go and make some money. So I would assume that Cooper Kupp wants to get paid what he thinks he's worth or thereabouts. But him just going what would be weird? Seeing a guy like Cooper in Tennessee or Jacksonville or one of those things, like, what are we doing here? That's just not how I see him. Him in Kansas City with Andy Reid that would know exactly how to use him, with a quarterback that would love to have another player that's exactly where you expect him to be, exactly where you expect him to be there. And that would be, wait, Cooper Kupp had another, 65 catches. He had another 11 touchdowns.
And he was healthy.
And and he's not the guy that he doesn't have to block the way he does in LA. He doesn't have to do all of the extra stuff that he would have to do here. That's the part that Rams fans will be like, oh my gosh. Now, I hope it works out for him. I hope it doesn't come back to bite the Rams in the butt, obviously, but somebody's going to take him for sure. I just hope it's a place where the quarterback and the coach are good and can utilize him at his best, and not him just playing out the strings somewhere like we've seen a lot of guys do.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's going to be fascinating to see where he ends up. But based on just how he's handled this with the social media response and everything like that, clearly there's a fire inside of him about this whole thing. So, yeah, I mean, when you break up, you get that revenge bod. We're gonna get revenge bod Kupp. He's gonna be like, great shape, play every game, 2,000 yards. He's gonna go triple crown again, and then the Rams are gonna see him in the Super Bowl with the Chiefs. That's my nightmare field now.
That would be tough. That would be tough. And look, whoever does ultimately add him to their team, they're not only going to get a really good player, they're going to get a guy. One of the things that I've heard time and time again from talking to people in and around the Rams is, they're going to miss his production, obviously, but they're going to miss his presence. They're going to miss him in the locker room. They're going to miss him on the field, that he was an extension of Sean McVay, everywhere he went, that he understood it as well as anybody else, that he was able to hold other guys accountable, set the great example, be a great teammate, be a great leader. So whoever brings him in is going to get all those traits as well, and those are not insignificant. Now, does that translate in Jacksonville or Tennessee or something like that, a team that's not very good? I don't know. Probably not nearly as much as it might somewhere else. But he's going to land on his feet. He's too good of a player and too much of a pro for it not to work out. I want it to work out as best as possible without it coming back to bite the Rams in the rear.
Yeah, for sure. And fortunately for Rams fans, the best thing for him would be something that would bite the Rams in the rear, right? To get that ultimate revenge. So we won't see Puka. We won't see a Cooper Kupp in number 10 for the Rams next season, but we also we won't see Puka Nacua in number 17. Thoughts on Puka Nacua giving up number 12? It was his college number, and he was on Amon-Ra St. Brown's podcast, and I think he mentioned that he wouldn't have given up for $2 million, which is like kind of crazy. But I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna miss seeing him in 17.
I hate when guys change numbers. It just, I just don't. If you change teams and you get a new number, fine. But like when you had a number and then all of a sudden the Robert Woods was 3 and he was 17, or he's 17 and it was 3, and it always kind of threw me off a little bit. We'll get used to it. I know he's got a family history with 12, that all of his siblings wore 12 in high school and all that kind of stuff, that he wore 12 in college, that he has an affinity for that number. Devontae Adams obviously probably wanted 17, and he was willing to move on from it from a point. But I'll be honest, I was a little surprised. Puka's kind of made a name for himself in the league as number 17. I'll tell you a quick funny story. When this was 2 seasons ago, the Rams are playing the Raiders on Thursday Night Football. And it was the night that Shohei Ohtani showed up at SoFi. And they cut to Ohtani wherever he was sitting in the box somewhere, and he had that black leather jacket on, and he takes it and he opens it up, and it's number 17. Now, you're a baseball person, I'm a baseball person, so we're like, oh yeah, Shohei Ohtani is number 17. He was number 17 with the Angels, going to be number 17 with the Dodgers. the producer on my radio show, who also does all my Ram stuff, Emily Hebel, she goes, "Oh my God, he's got a Puka jersey on." And it was like that Puka had made that impression on her. And she's a football fan. Like, she knows what she's talking about. And I just think it speaks to, for a certain generation of Rams fans, 17 is Puka, and then he's going to roll back out there again in a number 12. It'll take a minute to get used to, for sure.
Yeah, 17 hits. You're absolutely right on that. And you bring up Shohei Ohtani, and he, of course, famously gave Joe Kelly that Porsche.
Yeah.
And Roki Sasaki gave Miguel Rojas that bottle of sake.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, like, I need to know what Devontae Adams gave Puka Nacua, because I know for a fact, without knowing for a fact, that Roki Sasaki spent more money on that bottle of sake that he gave to Miguel Rojas than Shohei Ohtani paid for that Porsche. He's the international ambassador for Porsche. That Porsche cost him absolutely nothing to give to Joe Kelly. So I hope Devontae Adams didn't just give Puka Nacua like a Taco Bell $2,000 gift card because he's a Taco Bell guy, and a couple of Jordans because he's with Jordan. So I need to make sure that whatever he gave him came out of his own pocket.
Look, it's something. Well, I'm sure at some point somewhere we'll get. I think it was going back to the New York Giants a million years ago when Eli Manning wanted to be number 10, and I think it was their punter Jeff Fiegels was number 10 at the time, and Manning bought it off of him for the price of a brand new kitchen in his house. He had to renovate the guy's entire kitchen. So this stuff can get expensive for sure. So I would imagine Puka got something, whether it's a Porsche, a kitchen, or a bottle of sake, or a Taco Bell gift card. I don't know, but he definitely had to have gotten something.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out about that for sure. But coming up next, we're going to talk about a Rams receiver that's now on a division rival, and a quick thought on the possibility of picking up a top-level quarterback in this draft. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
March Madness, it is here, right? We've got conference tournaments that are going on right now, and the big dance is just around the corner. And FanDuel, obviously giving you the chance to get on the action like never before, because right now, new customers, that's right, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything and anything, from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's going to win the whole thing and climb up on that ladder and cut down the net, right? So you've got all sorts of things that you've been keeping your eye on. Maybe it's an underdog this year. FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. And with tournament games happening almost every single day, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app, super simple to use, and when you win, you get paid, bang, like that. No waiting around at all at FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Okay, so Travis, the 49ers have signed Demarcus Robinson on a 2-year, $9.5 million deal, $6 million fully guaranteed. And this is interesting because there's been this purge in San Francisco, a lot of questions about what they're doing with their roster. Demarcus Robinson, someone who really stepped up to help this team, especially as a nice red zone threat, built some chemistry with Matthew Stafford. Yep. I think the wide receiver room today is significantly better than it was last year with the addition of Devontae Adams, no question about that. But good for Robinson getting that nice little payday for San Francisco.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about this on my radio show, Trav and DeMarco, every day, Monday through Friday, 9 to noon on 710 ESPN. The Atwell signing made me go, like, all right, whatever. Like, I kind of went back to my time as Rams pre-half and post host, and the times we've talked about Tutu Atwell after a game as being super impactful, I don't know, maybe once or twice. Just very, very rarely. He's just very rarely a part of the story about what happened that night and why the Rams won a game. That wasn't true with Demarcus Robinson. We talked about him a lot. Like when he popped big. Like, he would score big touchdowns. You go back a couple of seasons ago, he had that run where it seemed like he was getting into the end zone every single week and was a huge part of what they're doing. The number itself is relatively low. It's less than what Tutu's going to get. And I don't know. I would have rather have had Demarcus Robinson than Tutu Atwell. I understand they're different types of wide receivers, but this was one of those things that I saw. Is Demarcus Robinson the difference between them winning the Super Bowl or not? I don't think so. But if you're just looking at it, would you rather have Atwell or Demarcus Robinson? I'd rather have Robinson 10 out of 10 times myself, but he's on to San Francisco. The Adams things covers a lot of warts. And like you said, D-Mac, this is a better group than it was a week ago because of the addition of Adams. But I like Demarcus Robinson as a player. I liked him as a third option at wide receiver. I thought he did a really good job there. I'm sorry to see him go.
Yeah, it's tough to teach speed because you can't do it, right? I mean, you can get a couple ticks, and Tutu Atwell definitely brings that. Robinson guy, you look at the yards per reception, numbers like that were impressive for sure. You also have Jordan Whittington, can't forget about that too. A big physical guy that you could slot into that role as well. So I'm fine with it. I mean, he kind of got the DUI the last year. That apparently the team wasn't like loving the idea of bringing it back just from that. I mean, I don't know. It just feel like it wasn't a fit. But it's the Rams are going to be fine. It's always interesting to see guys that were Rams that signed with the 49ers. But we'll talk about Shedeur Sanders tomorrow. So should the Rams consider Shedeur Sanders? I mean, there's so many. He's the most polar. To me, it was it was C.J. Stroud in his Wonder League test, and it was Jaden Daniels, that weird picture of his elbow. Do you remember that from last year? There's this weird his elbow popping out. I think this year it's like, okay, let's find the wart, and is Shedeur Sanders too arrogant? Did he leave meetings too early during the combine week? I think that they've kind of found that guy this year. But tomorrow's show we'll talk about if Shedeur Sanders does fall to them somehow, some way, should they consider him? But you got a quick thought on Shedeur?
I hope that it works out. I would love to be faced with the option of, oh my gosh, he's still on the board. Do we take him or not? I think that's a wonderful question to ask. I'm excited to talk about it tomorrow. I think the answer for me at least is pretty obvious. I'm excited to get into it.
For sure. Yeah. And more signs to talk about too. Coleman Shelton's back. You've got Jimmy G's back. So lots to talk about always in Rams land. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. And you can follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.